Okay, so today is another lecture one after the basics that I recorded earlier. It's on my channel. You can go back to that one and check it out. It's a basic algebra. And this is lecture one. We are starting on addition and subtractions. So if you go for first of all, there are two types of addition and subtractions. One is numbers, and the other one would be we'll move into letters. So with letters, it's a bit different, but with numbers, it's quite simple. No issues in addition, especially if you look at it, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. It's a very simple arithmetic operation. Minus 2 plus 3 is a bit different though, because you remember the plus sign is with the 3 and the minus sign is with the 2. So actually they get cancelled out each other, but obviously 3 is bigger, so 1 will be left. And the 1 is actually a plus 1 because it's a positive 1. It means you have 1 remaining. In the other case where the 2 is positive, and remember I said we do not write the positive sign. So the 2 is positive, so we didn't write that, and the 3 is negative. So they do get subtracted even though it's an addition, but the sign is minus 1. So whichever number is bigger, the simple rule is you keep that sign with whatever sign is with that bigger number, you keep that sign. Or basically you have the minus 1 remaining here and here the plus 1 remaining, right? So minus 2, minus 3, they get added, but you have to keep the sign minus. Over here, we didn't keep the sign. It is a plus sign because it's a plus 2 and a plus 3. At the very end, they're both minus, but they get added up because we have now minus 5. In letters, a few things to remember. I didn't put it here, but anytime you have a letter, there is a 1 on the side and there is a 1 as a power. So it is always a to the power 1 or b to the power 1. And it's 1a and 1b, right? But as long as there is no number, there is 1, right? And if as long as there is no power, the power is 1. So a plus b, they're totally different. So you just the same as a plus b. You can't add them. So they don't get added up. But a plus a gets added up since there is 1 here, 1 here. So 1 and 1 becomes 2. So that's 2a. And simply you count the a's and there are 2 a's. So logically it also makes sense. So no matter how many a's are there, and if there is no number beside it, we write the number before the letter. So if there is no number, you just count it as a 1. So if there was another a with, let's say, with the plus 2a, if we do that plus 2a, then what this will become is 4a, right? So now look at the powers. This is a power 1 and the first one is a power of 2. So they don't get added again because they are different. So there is still equals to a square plus a, same as, or you can take an a common out and you have an a plus 1. You need to write that 1 because if you multiply that back in, then a square and then plus a, it becomes again. If you don't keep the a, the 1, then it will become only an a square when you multiply back in. Here, the same powers, a square plus b square, then it's get added up, the one here and the one here, but the power stays the same. So that will be then discussed in multiplication and division, what happens to the powers. But in addition and subtraction, power has to be the same to add them up. The letter has to be the same to add them or subtract them. And the power do not change in addition and subtraction, right? Is the side number that changes. Like on the number 2 here, this 2, that gets added up with the others and becomes a 4a. But the power still is 1 here. The power here is 2. Even if the power is 3, it would be is 3. And no matter how many a's are there with different powers, right? So let's go to the next one. These are numbers subtractions now. So 2 plus 3 is, in addition, is 5, right? But in subtraction, it's a positive 3 and a positive 2. But if we write the positive together, then it will be confusing. So I did a 2 minus a positive 3, or basically it's 2 minus 3. But I'm writing in an algebraic way. So we consider this is a positive 3 and this is a 2. So if you put a minus sign and you open up the bracket, it becomes a 2 minus 3. But again, you get the same response is minus 1. Minus 2 and a minus, subtract 3 from it, it becomes minus 2 minus 3, it becomes a minus 5. 2 minus, and then subtract a minus 3 from it. So when you open the bracket, you remember the multiplication in the basics lecture I explained. If you don't have that knowledge, go back to that lecture, the one I explained where the minus times minus becomes a plus. So here this becomes a plus, so it becomes actually a 2 plus 3, and that becomes a 5. A minus 2, subtract a minus 3. So the minus is here, that's subtraction, and the 3 is also minus. So this becomes a plus when you open the bracket. So basically, it equals to minus 2 in a bracket, or when you open the bracket, it becomes a plus 3, and eventually it becomes a 1. And that's where it is. And that's what it is, how it works, right? The subtraction. In my basics, I have done that. So if you have a minus 6 and you have a plus 4, so from a 0 to 4 is here, and you count backward is 6. So if you keep going back, it's then from 4, backward is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you come up to minus 2. So from 0 to 4 gets cancelled out, and you are left with minus 2. Let's go to the real operation with letter subtractions. Right? These are letters. So a minus b equals a minus b. You cannot do anything with it. They're different. They don't match with each other. They're not bird of a feather. So remember, bird of a feather flock together. So anytime you subtract or add, you have to have the same letter with the same power even. So that's what the common rules are. A minus 2a, so the sign is a minus. You can subtract these now. You can, I mean, that has to be subtracted because this is a plus and this is a minus. And if this means if you put a bracket, that's actually a plus 2a. So in subtraction, what happens is you change the sign of the inside. And this eventually becomes a minus 2a and eventually becomes a minus a. Actually, it's a minus 1a. There is 1 in front of this one and here, and this is a minus 2. So basically, you keep the bigger number sign, so that's a minus, and the 2 minus the subtraction 1 is 1. So 1 is right here, and a is coming here. So again, a square minus a cannot do anything with it, right? So usually you write it a square minus a, or you can take an a common out and you have in parentheses a minus 1. You keep the 1 because if you multiply that back in, a times a becomes a square and a times 1 is a. So that's what it is. 2a square is equal to a square, and minus a square is equal to a square because there is a 2 and there is a 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1 and a square. So the power doesn't change and the one comes here which we don't write. So that's basically it for these basic mathematic operations, just the addition and subtraction. The next video will be, uh, I will try to do it both on multiplication and division, but if I couldn't, I will just do the multiplication because I don't want to make long videos. So then I will do division later after that. But I will see if both can come together in one video. Okay, thank